Before we begin today's episode, I wanted to issue a brief content warning. Today's episode does discuss suicide. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, please call 988. It provides a 24/7 connection to confidential support. There is hope. You are not alone. Just call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. 988 will connect you with a trained crisis counselor who can help. Please know that we here at Time to Party care about you, and the world is better with you in it.
Hey, I'm Ben Silverio.
I'm Andy Huttel.
And I'm Ansel Birch.
And it's time to
It's
party!
actually October when
This episode was recorded on September 27th, 2022. We are not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly.
Party people, welcome back to Time to Party, where it's two time, two party, two furious.
Electric Boogaloo party.
That doesn't sound like a very good party.
Have you ever seen an Electric Boogaloo? So much better than Acoustic Boogaloo.
You know what's good? An Electric Avenue.
If you got your choice,
You gotta rock down there.
I have, and it's great.
And wait. Then they took you higher, right?
Well, you had to pay extra for that, so I didn't do it.
Those add-in prices are gonna get you.
That's how they get you.
Dude, I
gouging,
remember
really.
back in the day, Electric Avenue was about the experience, not about the money.
It's true. This month, we are talking about the movie Last Night in Soho from the incredible filmmaker Edgar Wright, who brought us Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, one of my favorite movies ever, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie is not like any of those at all.
If you didn't know that this was him, you might not know that it's, an Edgar Wright film.
It's true.
I think that's one of the things about him, though, is his ability to absolutely immerse himself in a filmmaking style.
Well, I think the one thing that is true of every single one of his movies is the importance of music.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
His use of music. I mean, let's not forget
Like
about
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a 2-hour-long music video.
Yes.
Which was inspired by a music video that Edgar Wright directed, starring Noel.
It wasn't inspired by Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim?
Shockingly not. It was a music video. It's a great song, too. And in the video, it was Noel...
Coward.
Fielding.
Thank you. He got the idea doing a music video for...
That makes sense.
with him, in which Noel was the getaway driver.
Mm.
And he's just, like, rocking out in there.
I want to watch that now.
Oh, it's great.
If you don't know about Last Night in Soho, our good friends at IMDb tell us an aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something darker.
So at the start of the film, like, she sees her mom in mirrors and in, like, reflections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And her nan talk about how she's got this gift that she inherited from her mother. And that's really as deep into it as we get. Like, she's got these superpowers to see her dead mom, and her mom saw so many dead people, she ultimately committed suicide.
Which, was that ever made clear?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it was.
the suicide was, but I thought she
the
was
reasoning.
just like had an episode or something. I didn't realize that she committed suicide because she was beset by spirits.
That's kind of the I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but that's just kind of what I
inferred that afterward.
Yeah.
But
even if it's
at the
maybe not
beginning, it wasn't
explicit,
let in.
Yeah.
I think, the reason I'm making that distinction is that I think that it's really clever of them to have not brought it up at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, her mom has had, whatever going on that caused her to commit suicide. And that's a complicated thing. There's a lot of emotions around that. There's a lot of reasons that someone might do that. And we don't know what what her mom's deal is. And so I think it throws a lot of questions into the film as we're progressing, questions that I think the character herself is grappling with. Like, is this what my mom went through? Is this real? Am I just crazy? Those are the things that people deal with when they have a family history of mental illness.
And I guess so. Well, and I don't even think it's necessarily. And again, like personally, like I didn't take it as mental illness. And again, like I took it as this supernatural ability she has to, channel Jennifer Love Hewitt and be a ghost whisperer. I think is, I just sort of took that was part of it. And I thought the other thing that the movie just sort of left me with was like, if you have any sort of, and I apologize if I'm kind of taking this in a weird tangent here, but like
that's the whole show, man.
If you've got any kind of like sensitivity to supernatural,
I'm a bit psychic,
spookiness, if you
sure, if you've got that
dead people, that sixth sense sort of a thing, because I feel as though Alex, who is the landlady,
Miss Collins,
Miss Collins, she says that somebody died in literally every single room in London.
Wow, that was such a harsh moment.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like I'm willing to admit that I do believe in that there is a little bit more than what we're capable of seeing in terms of
sure.
So you're saying you do believe in life after love?
After love, I can feel it. So when I was in London, I mean, I was very aware of something.
It's hard not to be in a place like London where there's so many
old
years.
So, yeah, for sure. And so I, call it like, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, stuff like that, and so when she gets to London, I feel like we just kind of forget about, her mom's deal and the fact that she sees her dead mom and stuff like that, and then we're like, oh yeah, okay. I feel like it's just sort of an awkward transition of when we get from, so here's a girl who sees her dead mom sometimes and lies to her grandmother about it, but we, the audience, see it and know everything, as omnipotent observers, we're like, okay, so she sees this, she lies about it, but then, is Jocasta a ghost? It's like, you don't know. You do, but
sure.
It's just that was just like kind of a weird exploration that the movie didn't take. It focuses on other things, obviously. So sorry, just kind of a weird tangent that I didn't really have a through thought on. It's just while thinking about it, while talking about it, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, like we don't really get too much more into, her seeing ghosts and things like that.
And I think it would have benefited if it did, because remind me to get back to Jocasta after this.
Okay.
Back to you, Jocasta.
Right. Just from the top, I didn't dislike the movie. It was a fine movie. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Because like at the top of this, I mentioned all of Edgar Wright's movies. And in fact, one of my favorite movies, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, is Edgar Wright. And filmmakers are allowed to explore different genres. He practically did a different genre every movie that he made. But this one didn't have the same air of fun that Edgar Wright movies typically have. And as someone who, surprisingly, did not pay attention to any of the trailers, because somehow I was just like, oh, I'll watch that trailer later. And then finally the movie was out. And I was just like, I'll catch it later. And then I just didn't until you gave me a reason to, Andy.
I love this movie. This was one of my favorite movies from last year.
Yeah, I mean, it had more potential that I thought that they could have explored, even though they did explore some really interesting things. I was telling Ansel earlier that I saw the initial twist coming, and then it went a step further.
Yeah. Oh my
and
God. Yes.
I hadn't decided if it was for the better or for worse. Like it was gnarly, but I'm like, was this necessary?
So it's just and again, it gets kind of. I agree. I think there's definitely some missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Within, like we were talking about New Mutants earlier,
yes.
you know, whereas I feel like there were some good bones, there were some good, you know, ideas presented forth, but I think there were definitely some opportunities that were kind of left by the wayside. And you absolutely hit the nail on the head where there was an element of fun missing from the movie.
Exactly.
But again, it's if you didn't know it was necessarily Edgar Wright, I don't think you would miss it.
And I think that's the issue, because like I also love Kevin Smith, and he tonally changed things up when he switched from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back to Tusk. Well, yeah, to Cop Out to Tusk to you know, to
Yoga Hosers.
To I was thinking of the other one, the one before, Red State.
Red State.
Yeah.
God, I forgot about Red
But
State.
even Red State has that Kevin Smith-esque verbosity about it.
Yeah.
You know, like you can still picture that being a Kevin Smith movie, even though it's much darker and more sinister than you anticipate. You don't really get that from Edgar Wright here. This is like Edgar Wright being like, oh, look, I know the rules so I can break them later. You know,
he knows the rules, and so do I.
Oh, okay.
A real commitment's what I'm looking for. I mean, you would expect that from any other guy. Wow. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. I just want to make sure that you understand.
I need another drink.
I'm sorry I rickrolled your podcast. Ben, come back.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm never going to be invited back to this podcast ever again.
I might invite you just to see how many more times you can rickroll.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no. Oh no.
Back to you, Jocasta.
Okay, so the thing about Jocasta, do you know how easy it is to change roommates in student housing? Like, I had friends who did it like 2 or 3 times in our freshman year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it would have been a pain in the ass at my school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because there had to be another room with an opening. So, like, you could only change rooms if there was a space for you to move to.
See, we had some people who just up and switched places.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. If you knew somebody who also wanted to trade, you could do that.
Yeah, that happened a couple times with some people that I knew. But, like, getting off-campus housing didn't seem like it should have been the first step.
I mean, I think it's important that at that point she's so alienated.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't know anybody else that she could have moved in with, aside from John.
But that's far too forward. John wouldn't let it happen. He's too much of a gentleman.
Exactly, yeah.
He's an angel.
Well, and they had just met when she's, like, making the decision that she needs
stole
to get
his
out
Coke.
of there.
Or he stole her Coke.
Stole her Coke, yeah.
Coca-Cola, not the...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cocaine.
Yes.
So yeah, I
he
think
gives her a new Coke and said sorry.
It's very cute.
Classy.
So good. But yeah, I think that's the trick, is that she's so isolated from the rest of the like student community that she wouldn't have the connections to do something like trade rooms with somebody.
Sure.
You know, hey, you're friends with Jocasta. Can I move into your room and you can come over here or whatever?
And I can get the fuck away from this bitch.
I am tired of her shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jocasta is so shitty that she, like, comes and hooks up with a dude while she knows that Ellie's asleep.
And then
like,
she, without looking, throws her shirt in her face.
Rude.
And just impressive.
Like,
more than anything.
I mean, why... this happens twice. Like, why wouldn't you just go to your partner's place? First, Jocasta, why wouldn't you just go to that dude's room? Then second, Ellie, why wouldn't you take John back to his?
I did wonder about that.
If you know that your place is haunted.
So that is later in the film, yes.
Sure,
like,
yes.
I 100... This time watching it, I'm like, Why are they going back to her?
Does John not have a dorm room? Did we forget to
Was there,
make
like-
a set for John's dorm room?
Oh, that's right. No, he drives
From
Oh,
South
that's
London.
right.
from South
he's from
London
South
to
London.
North London, or from
But
North London to South.
How long is that drive?
But it's probably like, like we had like very
Long enough that he has to
specific-
drive.
Like we had very specific like rules for living on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you lived within a certain radius, you could not live on campus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like that was like part of the housing agreement.
That's weird. I lived up the highway from my college, and I lived on campus.
We were required to live on campus for the first year.
And that makes sense. Like first year, sure.
Yeah, first year you had to. That is interesting though. Yeah, well, and I think it's worth mentioning that if John lives far enough away that he has to drive
and not take the tube.
and not take the tube,
Oh, yeah, because he
that's a
literally
marker.
Yeah.
Because he literally says like, "How else am I supposed?
How else
to
am I
get
supposed
here?"
to get here? Yeah. I'm like, you mean in London, one of the places with the best public transit?
Right. That's what Warwick and I were saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you live in a place where the tube doesn't reach you, then what?
That tells us how far away
Yeah,
John
yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't go back to his. That makes sense.
Okay. So
Also, that implies he lives with his parents, which I could see also being awkward.
Did you ever bring a partner back when you lived with your parents?
Not that they know of.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did they find out?
yeah.
How'd that go?
It was fine.
It was fun, or it was fine?
It was fine. It was not fun. Ooh, lolly, no. In general, my dad was kind of like, be safe, and
Yeah.
walked away.
My parents' policy was make sure we never find out about it. That was their policy.
That's fair.
Like, all right.
It was very funny because, my mom had a habit of like coming into my room and waking me up for church, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's got to stop. You got to put an end to that.
Exactly. So one time, like after I'd started college, I was out with a friend from college, and we were in my parents' neighborhood. And I'm just like, Mom, I'm gonna sleep here tonight. And she's like, okay. So it was late. I didn't want to drive all the way back to drop my friend off, and then we slept in my bed, my parents' house. And when my mom came,
much sleeping did you do?
I mean, we were pretty drunk. But yeah, when my mom came in to wake me up for church, she was just like, you didn't tell us that you were gonna have a friend over. I'm just like, yeah, it was already late and we figured it out. Sorry.
Oh, we figured it out.
We figured it out.
What a cute euphemism.
Did it get you out of going to church that day, though?
Yeah. Yeah,
See,
I
that's
think
a
so.
victory in my book. Not for everybody, but for me, yeah,
Heathens.
it's a win.
Heathens.
Whatever.
So one of the things about Last Night in Soho that was really brought to my attention by Warwick, because like he watched it before I did, so he watched it again when I watched it. He was just like, is it really a time travel movie? And then as I'm watching it, I'm just like, oh, she's quantum leaping.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that counts.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, she sees what happened, and she has no effect on it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like watching, like, the movie, like that part of the movie through Sandy's eyes.
Mhm.
We also see the Hickey
Right.
travel from time to time. So
Yeah.
like, what she does in the past does affect her present.
So here's the question. Because, like, her powers are established as, in the beginning, she sees her mom.
Yeah.
So, and, by the end of the film, we find out that the bodies of all of the Johns are in the floorboards and in the
And the walls
walls
and stuff,
and
yeah.
everything else. So my question is, are the Johns showing her Sandy and Sandy's whole deal so that she will ultimately kill Alex?
I think that's got to be it.
It makes more sense now that you say it like that. I don't think the movie presents that in an effective way.
I don't think so either. I mean,
And if it did, it might be more helpful. Because like once it gets to the third act and things start ramping up and wrapping up, everything happens so quickly that you don't really get to figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
because
when she's in the library,
yes,
and the Johns are coming on strong, and she can't see anything but the ghosts.
Also, don't run with scissors.
Right?
God.
And don't stab Jocasta.
Also,
I
where
mean-
did she get the scissors in the first place?
From the lab. She had them in class.
Were they in the...
library.
No, so when she was in class, she was cutting fabric.
So she carried the scissors with her
Well,
from
when
the
you are
class.
a fashionista, I would
Sure.
imagine that like you
Oh
keep
yeah, you
the
keep
tools of the trade.
you keep a pair of gingers on you at all times. But so she carried them from class to the
Are you allowed to say
microfiche.
that word?
I am. You are.
Wow.
No, you carry them to class.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
No, I don't want to be a part of this podcast anymore. Too late, isn't it?
Uh-oh. But no, so she carries the scissors from class to the microfiche room.
Yeah.
And then out of the microfiche room into the stacks where she then almost
that's
stabs
right.
Jocasta.
That's
It was in
right.
her pocket, like
because
in her coat
she
pocket.
literally
I
the
guess.
previous scene she literally ran out
She ran out of that
because
class.
she saw a bloody Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
and John brought her bag back.
Yes.
Now, I guess that
God,
is
what
the-
a peach. know?
God,
And then he
Such a
stops
good
her
guy.
from killing Jocasta.
Unfortunately,
Again.
quite easily as well. Can we talk about that catch?
Is she weak? Is he strong?
he's got great reflexes.
So he's is John a superhero and we just like have we need another movie to explore how he has
Is he the new John Boyega?
Oh,
Is he going to be in the
oh.
next Attack the Block?
I'm here for it.
Wagwan.
Attack the Block starring Edgar Wright regular Nick Frost.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
Hey, speaking of, none of Edgar Wright's regulars are in this movie, right?
Simon Pegg is in the background of a scene in a rubber suit that makes him look like Matt Smith.
God damn it! I was with you. I was actually with you for a second.
Actually,
I did not see him in the cast list.
Diana Rigg.
What did
She was in Hot Fuzz.
She was in Hot Fuzz.
she
yeah.
was in Hot Fuzz?
Hag. Fascist.
Such a good movie.
It's very good.
I actually just rewatched World's End.
Yeah, I saw your post about it.
Yeah, that's right. Because Cameron posted about it.
Oh, it was Cameron's post you commented on.
Yes. And so I was like, well, I might as well watch this on a Friday morning.
There you go.
And so it was so good seeing it again. I just appreciate more and more from that film every time I watch it.
So good. So, if you could time travel back in the same way that she can to
Quantum Leap.
to Quantum Leap, which is getting a redo. Very
It's
fun.
already started.
Leaping
yeah.
from life to life.
If you could quantum leap, when would
hoping
you
that your next leap will be the leap home.
when would you want to leap to?
Where or into whose body?
Ooh, maybe both questions.
This is such the first answer that came to my mind is kind of really sad.
Oh dear.
Because I'd probably want to quantum leap into like one of those like teen heartthrobs,
Oh, sure.
like in one of those like hot people shows, that like everyone tried to be.
We're
Like-
all
like
hot and we live
Vanderbeek?
in a beach house. Oh, what kind of shenanigans will we get up to?
Yeah, like Vanderbeek or like the people of that era, fucking 90210. One of the,
Melrose Place.
Okay, an actor person, not a real person stuck
or probably
in a
like
weird
The
situation.
real world equivalent.
yeah,
of that.
exactly, the real world equivalent of
Jersey
that.
Shore.
No, definitely not that.
Jersey Shore is definitely what I was thinking of.
That definitely not that. I'm thinking like California stereotypical.
Okay.
Like
I mean, Jersey's not aspirational for you, so I
no,
get that.
hell no. Shouldn't be aspirational for anyone.
It was for somebody.
And they're wrong. They're very wrong. Maybe the Bon Jovi's like first album or fucking
Ms.
The
Marvel.
Boss.
Ms.
Sure,
Marvel.
but that's like now. But
Garden
like we're if
State.
we're talking, yeah, like maybe those. I mean, maybe not Garden State, but like maybe those visions of New Jersey are.
Clerks.
I mean, did you see the third one?
No,
Well, that's your fault.
I know.
Man, Ben coming in hot with the hot takes today.
It's more like the Hut takes.
Oh, Hut Takes with Andy Huttel.
Ah,
Actually, that would be great. You should totally use that name.
Hut takes.
Hot takes.
And now here's Andy.
Back to you, Jocasta.
Feel free to cut this later, but like, I don't know. I always wanted to see what it was like to be one of those like conventionally attractive people that
Sure.
didn't stand out very much, but still got attention. You know,
So a white guy.
so a white guy,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
you know, like a
Like a buff white guy.
not even super buff, just like generally attractive. You know,
Yeah.
because
Life
there
was-
were
life was
some husky
generally
dudes
easier,
that
yeah.
were still considered attractive, right?
Mhm, sure.
Like I mean like the linebacker type dudes, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Beauty standards. They'd be weird. but
Sure,
yeah.
exactly. Like growing up I would have killed for something like that. Like there's a scene in this movie called The Debut, starring Dante Bosco, about Filipino Americans growing up in like the early 2000s. And he says in the movie that he used to sleep with a clothespin on his nose so it would be more pointy instead of flat. So he could be more like the people on TV, you know? And like that's a
Wow.
real thing. Like and I definitely remember dealing with stuff like that when I was younger. And I was just like, I wonder what it would be like to be one of these average white people.
Mhm.
You know? That got way
Fascinating.
deeper than
No,
you
that's
intended.
really
I'm so
interesting.
sorry.
That's a great real answer, though. Not all of our responses need to be weird takes. How about you, Andy?
I want to go to Woodstock.
Woodstock is great,
That's a
though.
good answer. Yeah.
I would love to. I've always been fascinated by Woodstock in general. And I would, not take the brown acid, but I'd really just want to appreciate like the music.
Any huddle fucks.
Yeah.
That's a very cool answer. All right.
I mean, using time travel to go back and see concerts is perfectly reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
We've established that you want to use time travel to go back and get Funko Pops. So
hey, that's only one reason.
Dude, hindsight is 2020. Like
just
we would be
saying.
millionaires. Like
That's true.
I think of like the Funkos that I've seen in the wild that I were like
that I just passed on.
that I passed on. That looking back, I was like, I was a fool.
yeah.
No judgment.
The OG DC set, the OG Disney store set,
Oh, yeah.
specifically Disney store, not just Disney branded.
Yep.
There's so many that I could have been like, yo, this is worth like $1,000 now.
It's just a very Ben Silverio response.
But also, to correct you, I said collectibles in general.
that's true. You did say collectibles in general.
Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
I was thinking like action figures from the 70s.
Like I
and-
watch I'll Ego Ethan Page's
Of course.
weekly vlogs.
He went to one of my stores.
Oh really?
The Geek Hut.
Dude, yes.
Geek Toy Hut.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that place was great. So he's this wrestler named Ethan Page who now that, he's making bank, every week he does a vlog where he goes to a different toy store.
To be fair, he did it before he was making bank too. He just
That's true.
wasted his money.
I know, now he has money to burn. So he's buying like Mortal Kombat Storm collectibles and he's
Yeah.
buying like
Okay.
the Street Fighter G.I. Joes from like when he was a kid, like the stuff he either had or wishes that he had.
That's cool.
And it actually fits into what we're talking about quite a bit because it's that nostalgia,
Yeah.
and it's really kind of what makes him pop is, here's here's all this, like action figures and stuff like that from when we were kids. And there they are, like mint in package with like the $3.99 sticker from KB Toys, and you're like, oh my God, I had that. Or, oh my God, I always wanted that.
I wanted that. Yeah.
and,
My
like,
friend had it, and
he's
yeah.
going through it. He's collecting like all of,
I would like to direct you to my Power Ranger shelf down there.
Uh-huh.
The Dragon Dagger was the only Mighty Morphin Power Rangers accessory that I didn't have as a kid. and now I have it as an adult.
That's awesome. And like,
I got the OG one, not the remastered like metal version. That's all fancy and shit.
So I do have that one, and I friggin' love it.
Sure, it looks
It's
great,
so great.
but like I wanted the OG one.
Which totally makes sense. Like I was when you were doing your work earlier, I was like, man, it still looks so cool. I mean, that was the toy.
That was the toy, yeah.
And I remember, that was one that I didn't have when it first came out. I didn't get it till they re-released it later. And it was still, like from, not Kenner.
It's not Hasbro.
No, because Hasbro has the license now. But anyway, so just like, I remember like I got it like a little bit later and I loved it. And I'm like, I gave it away. Why the hell did I give it away? And I regretted it so much,
So we would use time travel to get that shit back,
There
bro.
you go.
Right? And I actually discovered that I didn't realize it, but I actually had 2 Zords from Japan that were for like seasons of like the Sentai Power Rangers
Yeah.
is based on like before, like years before Mighty Morphin
really?
Power
Before
Ranger
it came out?
Zoo Ranger. So like Bioman and Five Ranger, I believe is what they were called. And I had like Zords from that, and I had no idea. And then during quarantine, I just kind of decided to go all in on like Japanese Sentai and stuff like that. And I was like, those were Power Rangers? Like, oh my God, I had those. My uncle got them for me during the Power Ranger craze. And I loved them. I played with them, until they broke. But I'm like, man, if I still had those, like, again, I could either add them to my like ridiculous Power Rangers collection, or I could very easily have them
Mortgage
bank.
a house, yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, that thing I just did. If only I had Power Rangers, would have made that whole thing.
They're
so
an
much
investment, Ansel.
No denying here.
easier. Like my '90s X-Men comics that I'm going to retire on.
Those giant long boxes right there.
Yeah.
That I'm looking to sell.
Okay, so this is the second movie that I've done, and they're very, very similar. I
Sure.
mean, this is basically like Midnight in London.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Glad you brought us back around. Thank you.
where she's coming back in time. So I guess my question. Well, we're reviewing the movie now.
Yeah,
We're still kind of reviewing it.
absolutely.
Right? But I think the question is like, at the end of the day, do you think that Ellie is like, well, fuck the 60s?
That's a good question, because she does come in with the same sort of romantic era thinking that we
Mm-hmm.
talked about.
Because at the end of Midnight in Paris, he decides to live in the now.
Yeah. Still Paris, but
Still
now Paris.
and that's fine. And she's still in London.
She's still in, yeah.
But the question is, like, is she gonna be more in the present? Is she gonna be more?
I think she learned from the past
Yeah.
to thrive in the present by the end.
But I
Because she used the 60s designs to fuel her schoolwork and projects.
Yeah.
Her final is
which was
still
already in
60s designs.
which was already in progress.
That's fair.
It would have been funny if like all of her designs suddenly are like bell bottoms
Space shit.
and like
Works back.
spooky ghost.
So yeah, I totally get what you're saying in with that.
Yeah.
It's she's just I don't know, I think she's still a fan to a degree.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think she lets it define her like some people
Because she totally changes her look at the end of the movie. Too.
Sure.
Like she's gone back to
Brunette.
brown hair,
Yeah.
but it's more fancy. So like it definitely shows that she's evolved.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the experience that she had was less bounded by it being the 60s. Like, the experience of Midnight in Paris is so much about it being the 20s. Like, he gets the chance to interrogate everything that he loved about the 20s.
Yeah.
Whereas she loved the experience of being in the 60s. It's the experience of the sex
trauma.
work and
The
the trauma
specific-
of
Yeah.
the like
one person who she leapt into.
yeah, like I think the interrogation is different for her
You know,
from
speaking
the time period to the experience.
speaking of the one person ruining it for everybody, I think this movie showed more than anything that I've watched recently, really, but generally just in agreement with life experience. White guys suck.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Like
there's
there's
no
not a
question.
single white male in this movie who was a good person.
The Irish bartender.
Yes,
he's okay.
But like literally aside from him, the only other male character who's a good person is John.
Yeah.
He's a saint.
I mean, arguably the cop.
Yeah, but he
Jack.
was. Well, I guess. But was he still
Lindsay.
a client?
You mean
Lindsay.
Lindsay?
Yeah, Lindsay.
Well,
So
But
Lindsay
I-
was a vice cop.
Sure, but I read that he was still a client.
Because, I mean, he did go into the girls.
Right. He's like, you're better than this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it. Like that's how I read that situation.
Well,
but
it's just he was so freaking creepy
He was.
to
And
Ellie in that bar scene.
that doesn't make it any better. Yeah.
And every time they ran into each other in the street, I mean, such that she thought he was Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh yeah. No. I that's the thing is I think his behavior was just creepy.
Sure.
Like I don't
For sure.
Sure. Okay. Fine. So he worked in Vice and he looked after the girls and stuff like that. Still
Maybe.
a little weird, like especially like the lyrics of that song Eloise that he sings at her.
At her, yeah.
Like
So creepy.
not okay.
Not okay.
So that's kind of a weird. That was a weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that.
I guess the thing I wondered what we were supposed to take from it. That everybody
yes.
after he died was like, "Oh, he was so nice." When he was alive, everything we heard about him was he's so creepy, and all of his behavior was super
Like,
creepy.
and as the audience, our observation of him was a little bit of a creeper.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wonder if Edgar Wright was trying to give us her perception is skewed because of her experiences and the haunting that she's having, in the same way that she sees people as different people when she's having her visions, to the point of almost stabbing Jocasta. I wonder if the behavior is supposed to be a manifestation of her powers in the same way, because immediately when he's hit by the car, everybody's all all the people in the scene are so ready to tell us what a great guy he was.
Right. And also she starts off on such a bad foot with that one cab driver.
Yeah.
Who's like, well, we got the
Such
legs
a
for it,
fucking
haven't
creeper.
ya?
Oh my god. The grossest.
Yes, so gross. In addition to being haunted by ghosts, I think Ellie was haunted by the creepy men who think all women owe them something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I kind of wish that we had a female perspective.
Yeah.
I thought that
having this
as
conversation after I watched the movie, I'm just like, yeah, we see how bad it is by watching this movie and just generally being friends with women. But if female presenting people were talking about this movie, I'm sure it would be a much different conversation.
Yeah. I would actually be really interested to do this episode again with someone who is female presenting, because I do think that there's a perspective that we are lacking.
Yeah.
But something that I think everyone can agree on is that you shouldn't drink anything that strangers give you.
Or fucking your arch enemy.
Yeah.
Or that nice old lady you live with.
Still a
Especially
stranger.
that nice old lady.
So like I mentioned it,
Talk
like
about a running theme.
yeah, I mentioned it earlier that like I figured out the twist pretty quickly. Ansel said that he did too. But then when they built on it, I was just like, oh.
The twist got twistier.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, how much twistier are we
oh
gonna
my
get?
God,
But also, can you blame her? Like, she's not the villain of the story. She's the product of what those men did to her. Matt the Doctor is the villain.
Yeah.
Well, and God, man, Matt Smith has really just leaned into the creepy
So
lately.
much.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're watching House of Dragons.
I'm not, but I'm told he's the poster boy for incest or creepiness or something
For,
like
he's a
that.
definitely for
Targaryen,
creepiness.
so.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, she's his niece is just as reciprocating-y. So it's
Game of Thrones isn't going to get me again. Not going to burn me again, Game of Thrones.
this
All
is
your sexy dragons and
Khaleesi's and
I know
your
you're
Carl
You're
Drogo's and
calling
their
to me with all your cool fantasy shit, but I know your game.
Yeah, of Thrones.
Hey.
Diana Rigg would tell me all about it.
And really, I think Diana Rigg was the shining star of this movie.
Oh, as well
I
she
think
should be.
her performance kept me involved. Like when I figured out the twist, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for the reveal of Diana Rigg to like fucking take this to town.
Right.
And you know, I got what I wanted, and it was fine. But at the end of the day, when you ask yourself the question, was this worth your time? Ansel.
Oh, absolutely. I really enjoyed this movie. I want to watch it again with a more close eye, because I'll be honest, I watched it significantly distracted for today's viewing. But man, do I want to watch it much more closely. Yeah, so worth my time. I would recommend this movie to a lot of people.
Andy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you know, this was definitely one of my favorite movies of 2021. You know, I'm just such an Edgar Wright fan. You know, I this one I think as in particular, I think the acting was really good. My huge crush on Anya Taylor-Joy, notwithstanding. I mean, I'll literally watch any movie that she is in. But you know, mixing her and Edgar Wright and Matt Smith and just everybody else, you know, I really feel like the final product is fantastic. You know, and I feel like this last viewing, as well as our conversation, you know, and I see the holes in it. You know, I kind of get why I was a little upset that it didn't get any Oscar attention. I kind of get why a little bit more.
I was about
now.
to say you can kind of see why.
I got it. But you know, I still think it's a great film, and it's still lovely film.
See, for me, I feel like Ellie's path could have been cushioned if she had just talked to someone.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, when you're dealing with mental illness, you should always seek help when you need it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking for help when you need it. I mean, isn't it Suicide Prevention Month or something like that right now?
I bet it is.
But you can host and post me for that. But regardless of whether it's the month for it or not, you know, like mental health is very important, and you should seek as much help as possible. In Ellie's case, if she had talked to Miss Collins, talked to Carol the bartender, talked to people around her,
I mean, her grandma who knew
exactly,
her deal
exactly.
to a certain extent.
If she hadn't kept that, communication is key in most
For sure.
areas of life, and the fact that she didn't even talk to her grandmother, like, okay, you didn't want to talk to the cop who was trying to help you, fine, ACAB, but like your gran, who's been there for you every step of the way, who was there for your mother who had the same problems,
Or St. John.
exactly. John was there the whole time, ready. He got stabbed for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, not many men will do that for you.
Man would have been there for the less stabby parts, for sure.
It's very true.
For the for the makeup-y drunken fool around times.
And he had to run out of that room through broken glass.
Broken glass. Yeah.
Like, John went through a lot, and they were still together by the end?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Yeah. He's a keeper.
Absolutely. John's a keeper. Last Night in Soho was fine. Stream it. Watch it after you know what it's about. Now,
See, one thing too, that it is a horror movie.
I wasn't expecting that. That's also part of what affected my enjoyment of the movie.
You were not prepared.
I wasn't prepared for a horror movie.
Okay, and so I was talking with my buddy Josh today, said the exact same thing. His biggest complaint is that it ramped up his anxiety and things like that, but he wasn't like, he didn't go in preparing for it, like mentally preparing, you know, like you see like, okay, I'm going to go see Halloween Kills, or like I'm going to go
Murder
see
Town.
Murder Time.
Because like knowing that it was an Edgar Wright movie, I was expecting an element of fun, and it never came. So I was very much let down by that for starters. And then the movie just ended up being fine with these holes that I saw. It was visually stunning. There were a couple of really good performances. Yeah. But I was just like, hey, don't drink that.
I think that this movie, in the same way that a lot of sitcoms do, relies on this main character is in some ways a cautionary tale.
Sure.
Around, yes, you should communicate when you're having mental challenges or when something is wrong and you know it's wrong. Whether you think you're experiencing an episode or you really think something's happening, talking to people is so important. But also, don't drink shit that random people give you. When you make choices like that and there are consequences, that's an opportunity for us to all go, yeah, I see where you fucked up. There it is right there, where you got in that car, or you didn't call Jerry because you thought he wouldn't understand. You know, it's like a lot of television, but especially sitcoms.
Yeah, like The Big Bang Theory. Don't be a jerk.
I didn't watch a lot of that, but
you don't need to.
No,
Never.
it's just
No
a
one
bunch
needs
of
to.
cool actors wearing nerd face.
I watched the beginning of it and really liked it.
I watched the first 2 seasons until I was just like, hey, wait a minute, I'm the joke here.
Yep.
Like, this isn't for me. This is making fun of me.
Yeah.
And I think I felt that way. Well, that's not what this is about. But
so like if I were to be lying in bed one night and all of a sudden there's a mirror and there's Anya Taylor-Joy in lingerie, I would tell people about it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, I've got a support system.
I would tell everybody.
Like, I would
like
be
Warwick.
like, Warwick!
We would tell Warwick.
I'm having visions.
There's a hot blonde on my ceiling.
Only with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could think of a couple others.
Yeah. Fair.
So yeah, like I ended up giving it I thought about giving it a 2.5, but I gave it a 3 out of 5 on my Letterboxd. So it was fine.
And probably before I would have given it a 5, just because the first experience, I was just kind of in there. I just kind of threw my hands up and kind of rode the roller coaster. And I think now I would probably give it more like a 4.5.
Wow.
I still really enjoy the film.
I've realized that I'm a very harsh grader because I rarely give out 5s.
Yeah.
But I typically, when I do give out 5s, it's not until the end of the year when I've been able to see everything from that year. Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to be a 5.
I mean, yes.
But I'm pretty sure that was a 5 right after I saw it. And then after I saw it again.
I mean, you want to talk about
and
like
again.
Oscar contention. Like, this is...
Watching it's not going to get
for sure.
nearly as much as it deserves.
Dude, I mean...
Because the Oscars are racist.
Super racist.
So racist.
I mean, it should...
Not even vague about it.
It should get Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Visual Effects, Practical Effects, just across
Sound
the
mixing.
board.
Yes.
I mean, that can go to like whatever.
Animated.
Transformers, Black Adam could get that one, but
Best animated.
No, what?
Foreign
Black Adam?
documentary.
You don't think the sound mixing is going to be good for Black Adam?
I mean, Black Panther is coming out.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There are
That's
better
fair.
superhero movies this
It
year.
was the first thing that came to my mind.
The DC universe has lost my faith so many times that, like, until I see it, I'm.
This sound mixing is garbage unless proven otherwise.
I mean, they could have gotten the same dude who did the Justice League, and I don't know.
Sound mixing is going to be the hottest contention Academy Award this year. Just you wait.
That's where the real battle is.
So every year, There's always my friends and I, we always do like Oscar parties, and we watch the movies, and then we kind of have ballots for what we think is going to win and all that. I lost by one movie, like one award.
Who beat you?
My fiance.
Ah, okay.
We had the same
That's
answers.
That's a good loss.
We had the same answers for everything except Best Picture.
Wow.
And
What was your prediction?
I don't even remember. She picked Coda, and she was right.
I should remember because it was on the show.
I selected Power of the Dog.
That was it. Yep.
I said Power of the Dog. She said, she said Coda, and she was right.
Kota Ibushi, the Golden Star.
Golden Star. Yeah, that's right.
He deserves all the awards.
Wow.
He does.
Right.
Ben, was it worth your time?
I mean,
we got your review, but
yeah.
you can just say yes or no. Was it worth your time?
Sure. It was, like I've seen all of Edgar Wright's other movies. It's not my favorite of his.
Sure.
It's literally my least favorite of his movies. I liked Baby Driver more than this.
For sure, yeah.
And
It's a very different
I liked The World's End more than this, But yeah, again, it's a very different film. And obviously Edgar Wright is very good at filmmaking. Like, a lot of the shots were very cool. A lot of the effects were very cool.
Use of color was fantastic.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, God.
He did a great job, but it's not always going to be for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, sure, maybe if you're a completist, or if you know what you're getting into, go for it.
Yes.
Yeah, if you like this kind of horror,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of positive to say about it if you're going in expecting that
Sure.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, party people, you could let us know what you think about Last Night in Soho, by finding us on the internet, because that's where we are.
I dare you.
That's true. We are an internet thing.
Yes. I am at bsilverio20 on Instagram and Twitter.
I, Andy, am at Ando Has Issues on Twitter. And you can also find my website which is www.thenerdhut.com. And that's with 2 T's.
Ooh.
I know.
http://
www. dot
I'm at Indecisionist on Twitter and at The Indecisionist on Instagram. You can find this website and transcripts of our show
Yeah.
at
no.
indecisionist.com.
Accessibility.
That's right.
Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art and to Marlon Longid of Marlon and the Shakes for our amazing theme song. This has been an Indecisionist production. For show notes and transcripts, head on over to indecisionist.com.
You can join the conversation by using the hashtag #TimeToParty. That's #2party.
Including hashtag #2party.
Apparently that's a thing
Been
now.
added per Warwick.
You can use that. We can't
Can't
cop
stop
it.
you.
Yeah. Yes, so join us next time, won't you, as we get into some edutainment. Talk about some edutaining things about Last Night in Soho.
Technologies and things featured in the film.
Yeah, and don't forget that we use the word technology loosely.
Very broadly.
Very.
technology. That's how loose.
That's pretty loose.
Loosey-goosey.
Like a rubber band that you forgot about for a long time.
Rubber band,
Ooh,
man.
gets all dry and crunchy.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The second
It's not going to hold anything.
Yeah, it just snaps.
Yes, well, you go buy new rubber bands, party people. Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Downtown, downtown, waiting for you.